female is in, for example, their daughter's PE, this law by calling it the Don't Say Gay bill. We know that's a bunch of baloney. This just limits discussion around gender identity in K through third classrooms, and it also puts in place some other protections. So at a minimum, it makes clear that it is absolutely not the job of schools, nor is it age appropriate to drive a conversation around LGBTQ ideology with 5 to 8-year-olds in the classroom. And there's another interesting thing in this law. It says that parents must be notified if a bio male who claims to be a female is in, for example, their daughter's PE class, because wouldn't we want to know that? They're going to be in the locker room or on a school field trip, rooming, potentially with their daughter. I would want to know that and decide if I want my daughter to participate. So there are many things in this law that are very much affirming parents' rights to have a greater influence over their young children when it comes to gender identity, or I like to say so-called gender identity. What about that is hard for people to understand or accept?
It just seems unusual. What the Democrats can't accept is that parents actually believe they get the right to parent their children, to have input on the conversations, the topics that are covered, and to what extent. They also don't like the idea of the children being taught to hate other kids in the classroom because of their skin color. It also offends parents. These are all things that are kind of tied together in this leftist agenda that we see all the time in education these days.
Yes.
I guess they didn't get the memo from Virginia, did they?
I know, exactly. They should, because that's going to be huge in the midterms, and we're going to see that impact, I believe. But, a lot of parents don't know, and I did a deep dive on federal laws that protect parental rights, and if you go to momsforamerica.us, you can download that PDF, and parents can learn more about their rights. Many times parents are intimidated by these schools because they don't understand their rights, and schools are completely ignoring them. So, for example, and this certainly applies in Florida and the new law there, it is the primary responsibility of children, according to of parents, to direct the education of their children. And that is according to the 1979 law that established the U.S. Department of Education. But who knows about that? However, we don't even have to know about that for most of us as parents, because we know it's inherently obvious that we should have the right to direct our children's education and have an impact on that in schools. We are actually, through the Parent School Compact, according to other federal laws, able to weigh in on what kids are being taught and to participate in that. So there's a lot of laws being violated. Definitely. I love what Governor Yes. Yeah.
Well, clearly they don't want the parents to be involved. I mean, that's been quite clear for a long time. You have these laws being pushed around the country when it comes to abortion, for example. In Michigan, where I live, the law that they hope to have on the ballot for November would not even allow parents to know about a minor getting an abortion. You see, it's take the parents out of the classroom, take the parents out of every important, these are life-changing decisions. Don't tell parents that Johnny wants to be called Sally when he gets to school, and the parents should have no right to know any of that. I'm sorry, but that's not appropriate. Parents need to be able to be connected to their kids. Let's be honest, we don't have enough fathers, we don't have enough parents in general, and too many parents are not involved with their kids' lives. And the ones that want to be are being called domestic terrorists. Flat out wrong. And you're going to help to change that, aren't you?
We are working on it. You look at what some of the critics of this new law are saying. They're citing a survey asking kids supposedly trying on new so-called gender identities of their own accord if they considered suicide in the last year, and apparently 50% said yes. Now, none of us want kids to be contemplating suicide. But my question is, are they feeling suicidal because there is pressure in school to transition, or because they naturally on their own decided to act like a different gender and didn't feel accepted by others? This is the thing. This issue is a problem, a solution in search of a problem. We see that in Biden's new rules, 700 pages of proposed changes to Title IX that are going to also be dealing with, sex and gender. The bottom line of that is the new definition of sex does away with male and female, replacing these obviously DNA-based definitions that we've all had since the beginning of understanding these scientific elements of DNA. And instead fabricating new unscientific terms, fabricated, like I said, by a woke gender ideology.
Well, and there's the problem. You bring up an important point here that I want to touch on before we have to run out of time here, and that is when you look at these colleges, for example, that offer 50 gender identities or more to choose from. Many of these alleged genders are nothing more than strings of letters that are meaningless. You go online, you look them up, many of them are absolutely meaningless, according to Webster or any of the other dictionaries you find on. These are meaningless terms. Words have meaning. Words are important. The use of words correctly mean things. Biological dimorphism, for example. Biological dimorphism is first-grade science. It simply means there are differences between the male and the female of any species. There are differences between male and female any species. Well, you're not allowed to teach that anymore, are you? That would be, against the idea of the left, their theology, because it's not even politics anymore. It's become this religion of leftism, and it's frightening to me. I'll give you the last word.
Absolutely. It's extremely frightening. And especially when you have people like, Biden's health department director, Rachel Levine, a physician who was or is a bio man and who raised a family before transitioning, has gone on the offensive against states that seek to enforce parental rights in schools and to ban these treatments for, with these these drugs to change your gender, these surgeries. Levine is pushing this transgender ideology on children and is even calling for people to call her office if they see parents pushing back against this. So all of this is at such a level of indoctrination and pressure that we know this is not, like I said, this is not kids looking to make these changes. This is kids being indoctrinated with this concept that they need to make these changes. It's very dangerous. And yes, we are working hard to fight it along with many other amazing conservative organizations in the country.
Yeah, and the attacks on Title IX, again, they pretend to be in favor of women's rights, but then suddenly can't define what a woman is. While Title IX is being gutted, the protections for girls and women in a variety of activities and so forth in this country, it's inexcusable, is what it is. Title IX was put there for a reason, to defend girls and women so they have equal access and equal opportunity. That's where it should be. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.